Hi everyone, I'm Loretta and I am here with Belle. I'm going to go over how to introduce a cart to a horse. You don't necessarily have to be even started in line driving or driving training to do this, as this is also a great desensitizer for even if you were trying to break a horse to ride before you did driving. The shafts on the sides will get them used to things touching them right here, which often is a problem with training horses. So this is the first time that I'm doing this with Belle here. Although I have done some desensitization of other things, I have yet to line drive her or even hook her to the harness or even fit the harness to her, which I'm going to also go over today in a couple other videos. But I really do not think, but I'm not going to promise, that the shafts won't bother her on her sides. So I'm going to start. The first thing I do is walk around a few times to get her used to the cart. And I usually walk them around between 2 and 4 times each. This time I'm going to do 4. Well, what I think will be 4. I think this is my 3rd time around. I'll stop. You can stop at any point and let her sniff the cart and get used to it. There you go, good girl. I'll bring her up here. And I'll walk her up into the cart. Now I will try and I'll pull up the shafts. I'll do it gently as the shafts might hit her. And I'll go like this. And this gets them used to these shafts being on the sides. She's doing really well and she is reacting how I thought she would. Girl. I'm going to walk her around the cart a few more times, and then I'm going to let her sniff the cart, and then I'll reintroduce the shafts to her. Girl. I'm going to go in a different direction and come around and pull her into the shafts again, but from this side this time. Good girl. Now I'm going to carefully bring these up. Good girl. And I'll rub them on her sides, that way she gets used to them being on her sides. Hope, hope. Good girl. Now her moving is not her reacting to the shafts, that's her ground manners acting up. She originally came here for ground manners, working with her ground manners on her training. And then they asked if I could also introduce her to driving training. So we're working on both. She's been here a couple weeks and she's doing really well. Her ground manners have definitely improved. She's not as pushy on the ground, as you can see. There's still a few things that are more personal pet peeves than really big ground manner work. Oh, than anything else. I'll walk her around a few more times. I usually do this between 10 and 20 minutes each time I do it. And I'll do it even with my fully trained horses, as I'll introduce them to new carts, new equipment, new wagons. And it's also a great exercise to teach my lesson kids. I'll have them work with the horses on doing this, as it teaches them if they ever wanted to get into training horses. Good girl. Now each time you let them pause and sniff it, they usually take less and less time to actually sniff it. Good girl. Good girl. These are great things to do with your horse, even if you aren't wanting to train the horse personally, but are trying to get the horse ready to be trained. I have some clients that bring me horses to train, as I train horses here in southern Michigan, that will do introducing the cart like this to their horse before they even bring them here, as it really helps quicken their training once I get here, as I do spend at least a couple days of doing this and of introducing the harness, getting them used to the harness being thrown on their back, getting them used to the tightening of the girth, and line driving. Especially line driving and ground manners are a huge thing for me when I drive a horse. As once you're in the cart, the only thing controlling that horse is your voice and those lines. And I have had horses, and I have seen horses react so badly that they'll snap the lines, and that they'll twist themselves around in the cart while they'll face the driver. I don't know how they do it, but they do end up doing it. Usually they come out fine, but it sometimes will affect their training, and if they can, continue to drive. So I do recommend, if you do have a cart and are wanting to send your horse off to training, to try this, because this is a simple, small exercise that you can introduce. It doesn't take much time to introduce them to them, like 10-20 minutes a day, a couple times a week. It really helps, especially if you're wanting to send them to the trainer in the spring or the fall and you have months to wait and you're trying to work on ground manners and trying to see what all you can do. You could, with other videos, I do harness fitting videos, as I like to, when a horse comes here, I like to show how I fit the harness to each of my training horses. And I only have one training harness per size of horse. One mini training harness, one horse training harness. Now the drafts for the collars, there are different draft sized collars, like 26, 27, 28 inches for the collars. So that's a little different. And with the hames, so that's a little different process than my minis, just with the breast collar. Especially if I don't get asked to introduce them to the hames collar harness. And usually I don't, especially because that's more of a draft style harness, and for like working, we sometimes do small logging where they move small logs and branches. That really helps with that, as it relieves the pressure and evens out the pressure and pulls the load easier than a breast style harness will. Now, when you train a horse to drive, this is not how they're facing. I'm just gonna warn people ahead of time. I know it could be considered a little obvious, but to those who are new to driving, horse faces out. This is just how I introduce the cart to them. This is an easier way to show them the cart than trying to back them in it the first time. Especially because with my minis, I'll sometimes just lift the cart and lift the shafts up and over their back. Sometimes I'll back them into it, and other times I'll pull the cart up into them. But the majority of the horses that I work with, I can just pull them up beside them and push over the cart and over the shafts of the cart. And usually girl. Good girl. Girl. Oh. Good girl. I really hope this was helpful to those who are asking how I introduce the cart, and it shows the way that I am able to do it successfully. And I really like this part. This was, I didn't always do it this way, but I talked to a friend about it, and she suggested this. I train a friend of mine, as I believe that you're never too old to learn, and you're never an expert. Even if you're an expert at something, you never know everything about that specific thing. Because even I still go to clinics, and even I still go to lessons with other trainers. And even some of my horses go to lessons with me to other trainers. I don't always just use the lesson horses to learn off of. I've brought my horses to lessons and brought my horses to clinics. And even though I have judged classes, I still don't always place at the top of my class, even though I know exactly what the judge is looking for in driving and showing and halter and showmanship. Which I hope to make another showmanship video of. And I have had people question in the past, message me and comment on the different videos in the past on where my training location is. Hitchin A Dream Farm is located out of Southern Michigan and Sherwood, Michigan. We do driving clinics from beginner to advanced clinics to introduction to driving clinics, where I show how to introduce the cart with a different horse that has never been introduced to the cart before. I show how to start line driving with a horse that's never been line drove before. And we do in-hand speed clinics, in-hand trail clinics, liberty clinics, because I do some liberty videos as well, and I liberty train as well. And I go over the differences between trick liberty training and halter liberty training versus breed liberty training. So if you have any questions or are curious about my training program with the different horses I go with, for example, Belle is right here. This isn't my personal horse, this is a training horse. She is here for training with ground manners and cart. She is into her almost 3rd week of training, and she is here for 4 weeks of training. I typically recommend at least 4 to 6 weeks of cart training to start with. But I will warn you that some horses it takes longer. Some horses catch on to it faster. For example, when I was rubbing the shafts up and down her sides, some horses will not accept that the first time. Like the donkey video that I did with Donkey, his introduction to driving video didn't go as nicely as this one. He freaked out a little if I hit the wrong spot, if I lifted it up and it would bump him right here on his sides. He would jump back, he would become skittish about it, which is perfectly fine. You just have to work with it more. Whereas Belle right here took to it faster, and she'll probably take to driving faster than Donkey did. But ground manners has a huge part in driving. And I also train horses to ride, but I typically prefer driving, and I absolutely love ground manner training. It is by far tied with driving training as my favorite type of training to do with horses. I love the trust that you have to involve in the training, and I love the different exercises that I can do, like with the tire pyramid and the hula hoops and the trail training and the in-hand speed, all different things that you can do in hand and that are really great for ground manners, which is Nova, my horse, that I've done a few videos on and that I'll do more videos on. She'll be used in my introduction to driving training clinic in October, on October 20th. That's located right here at the farm. We allow trailer-ins for those clinics, and we allow auditors at the clinics too. Auditing is where you come and watch the clinic, as I can only allow so many trailer-ins as the property isn't as big as I would like to hope. I would like to upgrade one day. We'll see about when that'll take. But Nova is my personal horse. I got her as a project horse. She has a great, really awesome driving, and she's she's really awesome, but she has ground manner problems. She gets aggressive if you ask her to do anything. I will tap their shoulders when they start pawing at the ground, as pawing is one of my pet peeves. Some people don't seem to mind it, but if a horse is sent to me with ground manner training and they start to paw, I will tap their shoulder and tell them no. It usually gets them to stop. When I stand around like this, I really just want them to stand next to me and do it, especially if you're showing a horse, or like she is used with unicorn parties and pony parties. Sometimes with that there's a lot of standing, and you want your horse to look your best, whether you're using it at a show or whether you're using it for unicorn parties or pony parties or just using it around the farm. You do want the best ground manners that they can have, which is why I absolutely love ground manners. I'm a stickler on ground manners. When I first started with horses, I really didn't understand and admire horses with great ground manners as I do now, especially with having worked with horses, especially stallions, that have absolutely no ground manners and do not respect their handler and get up into their space, and like rubbing. If a horse rubs my legs or rubs on me, that is another one of my biggest pet peeves. Stop. But I will talk more about my training and the different clinics in another video. I really appreciate everybody who watches and subscribes to my channel. I really do appreciate it, and especially because I understand when I first started out with trying to get involved with training, there aren't that many videos on driving training. Stop. And there aren't that many videos on liberty training, which is why I do try to do so much with liberty and driving training and how to introduce your horse to different companions in the in-hand trail, because I understand that trying to find a video on anything other than riding can be a little difficult with the horses. So when I go to different clinics, I'm going to try to introduce what I learn into my new videos as well. Well, thank you for watching again.